Okay, I know our last member is about to log on, so I can call this meeting to order. We will be here shortly, so if you guys would like to stand and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God's name.
Okay.
Do we take a roll call?
That's not standard practice. We don't need to. I think we can see that we're here.
I think under the circumstances, we probably should.
We don't need to. It's not our protocol. I
I
was gonna say,
insist.
okay, well, that's not how these meetings are typically run, and we can see who's here. So I think we can move on. You know, well,
Okay.
I think we need to have a quick discussion because we are, we removed the consent agenda in regards to, there were some errors in a couple of the things that we needed to revise. And I will fill you guys in after on that. And I know next up is the elections for the chair, for the officers, excuse me. But I don't know if we would like to take a pause for a moment. As I see, Wendy, you have a guest sitting with you who's welcome to join as a attendee, but not as a panelist. Says we do not recognize as him as a member of the Board of Education. So if he would like to log on from another device in his other room, that's fine. We'd love to have him.
Well, as I stated in our last session, that
Okay,
in our last meeting, and I'm not adjudicating anything at all,
appreciate it.
but he is the only certified board member. So, you know, we have
okay,
a different
that is your opinion. As this matter is not an item on the agenda. It's not really appropriate for us to discuss it. It's
I agree, but Jen
it's
should
an
also
ongoing legal matter as of
as
now.
well.
And the FOIA commission is going to determine whether the meeting, emergency meeting where we elected a member was in violation of notice requirements. And until that time, it's not something that is up for us to discuss, in a public meeting.
Well, I would like to have a point of information and decide and discuss how we are going to be recording the votes.
Okay, we record the vote with the members who are seated on the Board of Education. We've already had this discussion. This is, I appreciate your point of order, but we need to move on and focus on the business of the board at the moment. We'll await the information that comes back from the FOIA commission and can have a continued discussion at that time. Happy to also, after
That's
the meeting,
11 months.
discuss having an executive session with our legal counsel, if you would
That's
like.
11 months. That's 11 months that we're going to be waiting.
That's not 11 months. We have items on the agenda. This is not on the agenda, and we need to continue to focus on the work of the board.
And how are we going to do that when we each—
Sorry,
Again,
point of order.
this is
not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda. I'm happy to, we don't discuss legal matters in a public forum as such. I'm happy to arrange an executive session with our legal counsel to have this as a discussion at a later date. But we have a large, we have an agenda with other individuals sitting here waiting to speak and address the board. And, I'd like to be respectful of that as well.
Yeah, just a
Next
point of
item.
order, whatever we're doing, point of orders, just is obviously there's a disagreement. I just wanted the records to, the minutes to reflect the ongoing disagreement among the membership, just speaking for myself, that I don't believe that
Okay,
our membership
we will have a discussion with, I'm sorry to mean to interrupt.
Yeah, that's all. I just want the minutes to reflect that.
Okay, well, we can have a discussion with our,
right, especially since the chair mentioned that it was the board's opinion, and it's not the full board's opinion. To speak for me, I know that
board's opinion is as the board votes. The board had a quorum for a meeting. It voted. That is the voice of the board. That's how the board speaks, is through its votes. Whether you agree or not, that is the voice of the board is by votes. So again, that's via our policy as well as Robert's rules. And we do have a packed agenda. I'm happy to send a note out to the members of the Board of Education. We can arrange an executive session and have our counsel there to address questions. But again, as it's an ongoing legal matter, these are not things we typically discuss in a public forum. So that's all. I mean, at this point, our next item on our agenda is the election of officers. And I am happy to hand over the gavel to Kathleen Stowe. I was going to designate her to preside temporarily over officer elections to run the election portion of the meeting.
Thanks, Karen. Okay, this is how this goes. We will be electing officers in accordance with policy 9121. And the first one is the floor is open for nominations for chair. Ms. Costin.
I nominate Karen Hirsch for chair.
Sounds good. Okay, it does not require a second. Are there any other nominations? Yes, Cody?
I nominate Mike for chair.
Okay, sounds good. Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Cody Kittle for chair.
Sounds good. Any other nominations? Okay. So seeing no other nominations, it's now closed for chair. The way we're going to record the vote is that you send me an email and you copy Michael Antanasio with who you're voting for of the 3 people that were just nominated.
Point of order, I'm the secretary. Please copy me. I'm the one that's supposed to be recording these.
Actually, when you're running the election, this is how it's done, because then for the chair, because Karen can't preside on it, so she has me acting as chair during this time. And so for this point, I'm actually running things.
How can I record it if I don't know the votes?
Well, then actually it has to be displayed with the town clerk within 48 hours, which is why I actually have Michael also being copied on this. This is how sorry, I've done this so many times that in my 8 years that's how this is done. I'm going to, of course, record it. And again, it has to be submitted to the town clerk within 48 hours. So you'll see all the votes in case you were to question anything that I'm about to read. But with that, can you please all send me your votes of the 3 people that were nominated and copy Michael Antanasio? Thank you.
Hey, Kathleen, I wasn't sure what the protocol is, but am I allowed to deny my nomination if I don't want to be considered for it?
Of course, you don't have to be forced to be anything.
Can I deny my nomination? Although I thank you for it, Wendy. And that way, if anyone wants to readjust their vote.
Sure, thank you. Feel free to, I'll wait another couple minutes then if you want to send anything. Okay, I think we are good here. Okay. I'll start with me. I vote Karen Hirsch for chair. Sorry. Alright, that's one. Okay. Cody votes Michael Joseph for chair. Laura Costin votes Karen Hirsch for chair. Sophie Coven votes Karen Hirsch for chair. Karen Hirsch votes Karen Hirsch for chair. Okay. Michael Joseph votes Michael Joseph for chair. Wendy Walsh votes Michael Joseph for chair. And Jen Behet abstains. So Karen Hirsch wins 4-3-1. Congratulations, Karen. Now that you are
Announce Mr. Capielli's vote.
And for the record, I have voted for Mr. Mercanti. Thank you.
You are not a recognized member of the Board of Education. You are welcome to log
You
on
don't-
as
you
an
don't-
attendee. You
You
are
don't
not,
speak for the Board of
being given a vote.
Education, Karen.
there's
You do
no
not speak for
discussion
the
at
Board
this
of
See,
point.
the
Thank
chair
you.
does speak for the Board of Education.
so
The
anyway.
chair is the voice of the board.
So I have now now that a chair has been decided, which is Karen, I can turn it back over to Karen, who in turn can run the next two elections for vice chair and secretary. Thank you.
Oh, Karen, you're muted.
Thank you. Sorry, we're electing officers in accordance with policy 9121. And I am opening the floor for nominations for vice chair. I have a nomination if nobody else does. I'm not sure. I'd like to nominate Michael Joseph, Mercanti Anthony for vice chair. Are there any other nominations?
Karen, I appreciate that, I really do, but I fear I must decline because I'm not convinced that the previous vote was in legal order.
Okay. So is there anybody else? Is there anyone else with a nomination at this point? Nope. Okay. I have the option to don't want to move on to secretary until we have a quick discussion. I'm not sure if anybody would like to, I mean, I'd like to make a motion. We can go into executive session if you'd like.
I'd happy to nominate Cody for chair, but I suspect vice chair, but I suspect he doesn't want that.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm always so popular this one meeting
You
every
are.
year, but I respectfully pass. Thank you, though.
Do we need a vice chair by statute?
By
Yes, you don't.
statute, we do not, but by board policy, we do. So I'm happy to make a motion to move into executive session. Or to caucus, excuse me, if anybody would like to, not for executive session, I apologize, to caucus.
I'm happy to nominate Jen Behet for vice chair. Jen, are you interested? Otherwise, before we move on.
Yes, I would be interested. Thank you, Kathleen.
Okay, are there any other nominations? If not, I will say that we can call for a vote. Again, additionally, if you would send your vote to me and CC Michael Antonaccio, as we need to provide those to the town clerk, the votes, and I will read them as we go.
Hey, Jay, my name is Ethan calling over here from Sage. You can give me a call at 404-475-2719. Again, that is 404-475.
Karen, we're emailing to you now, right? Not Kathleen.
Okey dokey. I'm just trying to see if I have everybody's email for vice chair. Waiting for 2 more votes to come in. Cody, Wendy, could you please send in your votes?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I sent it to you a little while ago. I sent it to your Gmail, that's why. Hold on.
Okay, sorry.
I don't know why your other one's not loading. 1 second.
Okay, I have that one. So,
Okay.
okay, I will read them as they came in. Sophie Coven votes for Jen Behet for vice chair. Kathleen Stowe votes for Jen Behet for vice chair. Laura Costin votes for Jen Behet for vice chair. Jen Behet votes for Jen Behet for vice chair. Michael Joseph Mercanti Anthony is abstaining. Cody Kittle is abstaining. And I am voting for Jen Behet for vice chair, as we had 2 other nominations also that were turned down. And I do not have a vote for is Wendy Walsh.
Oh, give me a minute.
Give me a minute. I'm abstaining, but I'll send you the vote.
Okay, so then it is 5-0-3 for Ms. Behet as vice chair. And I will just wait for that other email to come in. Thank you, Ms. Behet, for stepping forward. And with that, we can move on to the election for secretary. Floor is open for nominations for secretary.
I would like to make a nomination.
Okay,
I would like to nominate Laura Costin for secretary.
okay. Are there any other nominations?
I'll nominate Wendy if she wants to do it.
Okay.
I,
Are there
I
any?
don't, I don't think this is in legal order, so thank you so much, Cody, but I think I'm gonna decline your very generous nomination.
Okay. Well, then please send are there any other nominations? Please send your votes to me and CC Michael Antonaccio. Okay, I shall read the votes. Kathleen Stowe votes for Laura Costin for secretary. Wendy Vizzo Walsh is abstaining on secretary vote. Laura Costin votes for Laura Costin for secretary. Michael Joseph Mercanti Anthony is abstaining. Sophie Coven is voting for Laura Costin for secretary. I am voting for Laura Costin for secretary. And Jen Behet is abstaining. So I believe that is 4-0-4 for secretary.
It's 4-4, it fails.
Okie dokie.
No, it's 4-0-4. Doesn't fail. Is abstaining. That passed.
It's not no. Okay, fine.
Again, I'm not sure if anybody would like to take a moment to caucus. I would like to just confirm that that's correct via Robert's rules. Well, I will leave it as standing for the moment, and hopefully I will have a moment to review that as I go forward. So our next item on the agenda is, well, I guess I would like to say congratulations to Ms. Behet and to Ms. Costin at the moment, and we can move forward with our agenda for the meeting this evening. Next up on the agenda is our public hearing. I don't know if I see our student government reps in the audience. Can you raise your hands and we can call on you? Ah, I do. I see me here. I don't know if you want to, Mike, if you can, yeah, elevate
can-
them.
All right.
They're unmuted. He can speak.
Okay. Hello, Chair Hirsch. Congrats on your victory, Dr. Jones, and members of the board. My name is Mihir Shah, and I'm the Student Body Vice President at Greenwich High School. I would first like to express my gratitude to the board for reserving time for the student representatives to speak. As we near the holiday season, I would like to say how happy I am with how GHS is doing. In student government, we are progressing smoothly with our class officers and representatives planning events and important policy. Our new freshman leaders, Charles and Shay, have become very valuable members of our executive committee and student government as a whole, providing bold, fresh new ideas to our meeting. I can proudly say that we are excited to see what they can do this year and beyond. The sophomores kicked off their fundraising by raising a strong $2,000 from their pie fundraiser. The juniors are planning many events, including holiday candygrams and a Pie Day fundraiser. We seniors are planning our annual Krispy Kreme fundraiser and our holiday cookie decorating event backed by popular demand. The holidays look to be a fun-filled time with plenty of class events for GHS students to enjoy. I'm thrilled to share that we're also planning a Winter Spirit Week. We know that the after holiday break, spirits can start to wane and midterm stress looms over us in January, but we're here to address that. Winter Spirit Week will be a chance for us to reconnect, recharge, and reignite that school's sense of school pride and unity. Think fun themed days, engaging activities, and maybe even some friendly competitions. There'll be something for everyone. We want this week to remind us that even during the toughest time, we're a community that lifts each other up. Additionally, our community service chair, Leila Galal, is hoping to put together a community service fair, which we are keen on promoting. This fair will be an opportunity to showcase the many ways that students can give back, both as individuals and as a school. Local organizations, nonprofits, and student-led organizations will continue to inspire us and provide real ways we can make a difference. Thank you, and I look forward to speaking with you again next month. Now it is my honor to introduce the student body president, Rocky Zoe.
Hello. Okay, great. Good evening, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Jones, and community members. As always, it is an honor to speak before you today. Building on some of Mihir's previous remarks, I'd like to provide an update on our freshman class officers and subcommittees within student government. Starting with our freshman class officers, I'm pleased to share that Charles Gulliner, our freshman class president, and Shay Coleman joined us for our first dinner and lunch meetings as a complete executive committee. Both Charles and Shay brought thoughtful and enthusiastic energy to these discussions. They highlighted student concerns related to parking and creative ways to promote the school store, demonstrating their proactive approach to representing their peers. Additionally, they've set ambitious and meaningful goals for the year, engaging their class in more high school traditions to foster school spirit and planning stress relief activities for students after midterms to support mental health. Their contributions are already making an impact, and we're excited to see their vision come to life. Turning to our subcommittees, I'm thrilled by the progress we've seen so far. The advisor-based committee, led by Angela Bai, has been collaborating with Mr. Pereira to brainstorm and plan more class-specific activities for advisor-based periods. Their goal is to make these sessions more engaging and tailored to the needs of each grade level, ensuring that every student feels supported and connected. The Food Service Committee, on the other hand, chaired by Mark Zolotarevsky, recently met with the GHS Food Services staff to discuss ideas for improving the dining experience. This meeting laid the groundwork for open communication and potentially initiatives to enhance menu options and accessibility, including vending machines, ensuring our school's offering to meet student needs. Lastly, the Student Concerns and Communications Subcommittee, led by Owen Benison and Sly Pecora, have begun developing a student newsletter in partnership with Gabe Elizash, the junior class president. This newsletter aims to keep students informed about important updates, initiatives, and events while creating a platform for student voices to be heard. The team is excited to launch this project and strengthen communication across our school community. We're excited to see what these new additions will accomplish in student government and look forward to the positive changes they will bring. Thank you for your time and continued support. We look forward to speaking with you during next month's meeting.
Thank you for coming to speak to us. We always welcome our students' voices at our meetings, so thank you. Next up on the agenda is GEA comments. Lil, if you're in the audience, please raise your hand.
I'm here. I'm unmuted.
You are.
All right. Well, I am here. All right. Good evening, Chair Hurst, Board of Education members, Superintendent Jones, and to all on this Google Meet. My name's Lillian Perrone, President of the Greenwich Education Association. As you know, last Monday was Veterans Day. I like to start off with a big thank you to our schools who put together some absolutely amazing programs to honor our veterans, and to our veterans for sharing their stories and educating our children. On that day, I was just walking out of the Board of Education building when everyone was assembled for the Town of Greenwich ceremony. It truly was a breathtaking ceremony. Peter LeBeau, commander of the Greenwich American Legion, said to the crowd, "Please treat our veterans as richly deserve to be treated, with sincere gratitude and heartfelt respect. And whenever you see and you meet a veteran, simply say, thank you for your service." So I'd like to say to every veteran out there and those listening tonight, thank you for your service. Thank you to the Town of Greenwich for this beautiful ceremony, all our elected officials and clergy attending, Chief Heavey and his team, and all who made it happen. It really sent chills up my spine when everyone stood up, saluted, and sang our national anthem. In fact, I can still hear everyone's voice singing in my head. I bet if you listen closely, you may be able to hear it too. I thought we needed that. Thank you to the administration, all our support staff, custodians who keep our schools clean, our food service who keep us fed, our nursing staff who care for our sick, our secretaries who help run the buildings, and security, police, and fire who keep us all safe. And lastly, but not least, this one's for you, John, to our PTA and parent community who are always there to support our children and teachers with such generosity and kindness. I know they will be there and stand with me to fight for a fully funded budget, and we will be at all our town budget meetings. We are watching, and we are listening. I say goodnight to all, and I leave you with these final words. Never, never poke the bear, and especially never poke Mama Bear. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone, and I apologize for anyone that I have left off.
Thank you, Lil. So it's nice to hear from you. Next up is PTA Council's comments. John, if you're there.
I am there. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes.
Thank you. Chair Hirsch, BOE members, Superintendent Dr. Jones, everyone online, thank you for this opportunity to speak. And Lil, thanks for the shout out. I'm John Fisher, the Greenwich PTA Council President, parent of 2 of the 8,513 great kids in the Greenwich Public Schools. In case you don't know, the PTA Council is the umbrella organization made up by and for the 15 independent PTAs in town. We have just under 4,000 PTA families in Greenwich, whose financial contributions enable our PTAs to spend over $1.25 million annually, combined with hundreds and hundreds of hours of volunteer time to enhance the learning experience of our students, support our teachers, build stronger school community connections for our families, and provide enhancements to the school facilities. If you haven't joined your PTA yet, now is the time to join and support the great work we do in partnership with the schools. The PTAs do everything they do in order to help ensure that every child can enjoy a fulfilling and vibrant educational experience. Fundamental to that, students need safe routes to school. In case you don't know, the town's Department of Public Works has a project underway to improve traffic flow on Putnam Avenue, also known as the Post Road and Route 1. We are all for fixing Putnam Avenue traffic. However, it is of great concern to PTAC and the PTAs that a preliminary draft solution that has been proposed would eliminate the pedestrian-only phase in the signal light cycle that exists now, when all the cars are stopped in all directions to allow our kids to cross safely without having to worry too much about cars that are turning right and turning left while kids are in the crosswalks. PTAC and all 15 PTAs submitted a letter to DPW asking them to ensure that the Putnam Avenue traffic solution does not eliminate the pedestrian-only phase and put our kids' lives and safety at risk. We ask the BOE and the school administration and everyone listening to also follow up with DPW on this matter and ensure there are safe routes to and from school. We look forward to the upcoming BOE budget meeting on Thursday, December 5th. And yes, Lil, we will be there. And we encourage everyone who's listening tonight to attend or to tune in again for that budget meeting to really understand and appreciate how important this budget is. That's Thursday, December 5th. Put it on your calendar, be there, and bring your friends along. Turning to the agenda, we look forward to the discussion of the HAMAV HVAC solution again. On the interim request for the badly needed and broadly supported OGS renovation, we note that the total project cost with escalation and funding offsets has increased slightly, while the projected state reimbursement has increased significantly more. And the project net cost to the town has actually decreased. So we anticipate that the interim request to keep this project moving forward expeditiously will be something we all agree on tonight and subsequently with the BET. We also note the policy committee's update to policy 4111.3 to bring it in line with state law and State Department of Education procedures to recruit and retain a diverse pool of highly qualified and effective educators. We support this, and we thank Dr. Mercanti Anthony and the policy committee members for the glamorous but occasionally underappreciated work that they do. With that, I'll remind everyone that if you haven't joined your local PTA, now is the time to do that. Everyone should attend the budget meeting December 5th. I thank you again for this time to speak, and thanks to all the BOE members for your public service on behalf of every child.
Thank you so much, John. With that, we are going to move on to community comments. I see only that we have 2 individuals signed up to speak. Ms. Costin at the moment, if you'd like to call the first speaker.
First speaker, I believe, is Jackie Homan, and she has 3 minutes.
Thank you. Is it on? Okay, great. I have to admit, it was stunning to read the meeting minutes attached to tonight's agenda, and even crazier to watch the beginning of this meeting. The October 24th meeting minutes show that a legally appointed board member, Paul Capiali, was in attendance for the meeting, but not permitted to participate. Following the call to order on October 24th, Acting Chair Hirsch expelled Mr. Capiali from the meeting by directing the board clerk to remove him from the screen showing board members and treat him like any member of the public who can watch the meeting, off camera and with no mic. And at the same time, Acting Chair Hirsch allowed Jen Behet, who was illegally appointed a few weeks ago at a sham emergency meeting, to participate as if she was a legitimate member of the board. Ms. Hirsch, who gave you the authority to remove a legally appointed BOE member from the October 24th meeting and deny him the right to vote? You should be censured for this illegal behavior under Section 9222 of the board's bylaws and apologize to the people of Greenwich for your outrageous actions. Better yet, maybe you should just resign, especially after the insane stunt you pulled tonight. And Ms. Behet, you should not be privy to confidential information or attend expulsion hearings. You're not a real board member who was elected by the people, but more like an imposter. You don't appear to hold any certification issued by the town that says otherwise, yet you eagerly and arrogantly accepted an appointment that does not appear to be in legal order as vice chair of the BOE. Just wow. Wow. You might want to find out whether you'll be indemnified by the town before continuing down this path. It's good to see at least 3 Republicans standing together against this circus act led by the BOE Democrats tonight. What do the Dems think it's okay to break the rules and illegally install their own preferred candidate into an open Republican seat like that? What a bold plan it was. And then to pretend like everything was above board, just so you could become chair, Ms. Hirsch, and then switch meetings to virtual so you could control which board members may participate by withholding access to the meeting. Seriously, hats off to you for having the chutzpah to do something you know is illegal and stick with it anyway, and then double down and keep the sham going even longer, recording illegal votes from a person who should be seated, essentially an imposter, while denying a legally appointed BOE member his right to attend and vote, and then installing a whole new board and a repeated votes that do not appear to be in legal order. How long do you plan to keep the charade going? The 11 months it'll take for the SEEC to respond? How much money is this Democrat stunt going to cost taxpayers in legal fees? And how much longer are you going to hide like cowards behind virtual meetings instead of facing the public to own up to what you've done?
Thank you, Ms. Homan. The next speaker, I believe, is Niam O'Donovan.
Hello, my name is Neva O'Donovan, and I'm a sophomore at GHS. Through volunteer opportunities with Unified Sports, I've been able to meet all different types of students across the school. It is clear to me that every student has something to offer GHS. Inclusivity is one of GHS's fundamental beliefs, but I feel as though it has not been met. In lunch, students with learning differences sit at reserved tables and are separated from other students. For the students at reserved tables, when there is no other special needs student at their lunch, they are given headphones and a computer or expected to sit alone. While this is recurring, their paras are sitting away from them on their phone. I understand the student center is huge and lunches are beyond difficult to manage. I frequently struggle to find friends at lunch. It is unrealistic to expect our special needs students to be able to properly integrate and join other students in lunch without giving them the proper resources. Building those skills should be our focus, not separation. All students thrive and grow from social interaction. High school friendships with all different types of kids are crucial, but it's difficult to create these friendships. School does not facilitate them. This inclusivity also needs to begin in the classroom. When special education students are in the class, teachers need to educate and facilitate acceptance. No student should be segregated from other students being forced to sit at their own table, as many special needs students are forced to. While there is currently not a wall separating these students from the rest of the student population, the divide exists. This separation completely defeats the purpose of special needs students being in class with other students. Having a seat for special needs students is not enough. They must be included in all aspects of class. This struggle is ever too frequent, and I personally have witnessed this in many classes. In one of my classes, I specifically overheard a teacher saying that she does not believe that a student with autism is able to be in her class. There was no basis for this discrimination. Every student should feel as though they belong to the GHS community. But what I've witnessed makes me wonder how students with IEPs must feel. Being able to know all students, no matter the differences, has impacted me immensely. The benefits of belonging have impacts on all students, no matter their background nor academic abilities. Every student deserves to experience all the opportunities GHS has to offer. There should not be assumptions that any student can't just because of their disability. What I have witnessed at GHS is heartbreaking and should never happen to any student. We are teaching the next generation and showing them that students with learning differences are less than and do not deserve respect and dignity. This is not true and a very hateful message that should never be taught in a class or allowed in GHS. We have the opportunity to change this. Me and many other students across GHS are willing to work with special education providers and school officials to make this possible. Let's make Greenwich High School the inclusive environment we all know it can be. I'm asking you to demand GHS to facilitate changes and make an inclusive environment at all levels. Please help the administration staff see the importance of making every student be a vital part of our community. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts on our school environment in GHS.
Time perfectly, and thank you.
Thank you for coming to speak. Again, always love to hear from our students. Next up on our agenda are monthly reports, and we will begin with Dr. Jones, the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Hirsch. I have a couple of items. First of all, just to build off what Lil said, if you saw the digital digest that went out, just phenomenal job at all of our schools honoring the veterans last week. And, you know, I have a lot of people that will ask me this time of the year, why are we in school? Why aren't we out? And having been in districts that were in school and districts that are out of school, what I can tell you is often in the districts where children are out of school, very, very few of them go to these veterans ceremonies. It becomes the day off. And I really feel like it's such a wonderful learning opportunity for our children from the time they're in pre-K all the way through. And they really grow not only to enjoy the Veterans Day, but to honor our veterans and to participate in the ceremony. So thank you to our administrators, our teachers, our students, and also our PTA who work really hard to make them fabulous across the district. I also just want to mention congratulations to ISD. They had a performance of ISD Willy Wonka, which I understand was absolutely well attended and was phenomenal. And even the principal had a role in the actual play. So that was great. A reminder that Turkey Trot is coming up with the Greenwich Alliance. And the note we got tonight actually says Cos Cob is in the lead. They do have a competition and a trophy that will be handed out. So other schools, you're chasing Cos Cob. And last but not least, this is our first weather watching evening tonight, and we will be up at 4:30 in the morning to check the weather. So if it is just sprinkling where you live in the morning, please know we're watching backcountry tonight. That's where we could have some challenges, which does impact the whole district. But again, so just be on alert. There could be a delayed start if things come to fruition in the morning. That's all for me. Thanks.
Yeah. If you're up at 4:30 checking the weather, please don't call me. Now we're moving over to committee reports. I see Ms. Stowe's hand up.
Actually, I had a question for the superintendent.
Then we will have questions for the superintendent first.
First of all, as I've always said, backcountry has different weather patterns, so please be cognizant of that. Number one. Number two, thank you for mentioning the Veterans Day. Actually, I think this was the first year I didn't get a chance to participate with my father, who's one of my favorite vets. And it's such a joy because actually it does, I mean, all my children would actually see him stand up there and because they were in school. And so I think it's really important actually that we celebrate it in the schools and we teach kids a little bit about it. But for my question, per what John said from PTAC, I guess I wasn't really aware of this pedestrian safety issue, so shame on me. But how do we make sure that this is well communicated to the community? Because that is a big concern for our students that walk to school. So Dr. Jones, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I will tell you, I wasn't aware of it either until PTAC put it on our chair vice chair agenda. And so I'm still trying to educate myself on it because I understand it's those crosswalks, especially right on Putnam. And so again, we're following it up, but I don't have really great information on how they're setting it. I know with PTA sending the letter, I'm sure that we will hear from Public Works, but I actually thought at first they were talking about the bridge issue that we've been talking about for the last year and a bit, but this is totally different.
Yeah.
So I'm educating myself right now. When I get more information, I'll share that with the board.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Michael Joseph? I see your hand up as well. I assume it's a
Yeah.
question for Dr. Jones?
Yeah, no, yeah, Tony, I'm assuming, knowing you, you probably already wrote down you're going to about looking into lunchtime practices around inclusivity, given the very thoughtful and articulate student speaker we just had.
Yes, I have made myself a note and I'll follow up first thing in the morning with that. And I do know a little bit about what they're referencing, but it sounds like it's more across the high school than I think what I've recognized. And I will say the unified sports this year, we're really proud of what the high school is doing. And it's probably the best year we've had where they're really embracing that. So we'll continue to build on that and I'll follow it up in the morning.
Does anybody else have a question for Dr. Jones? No? Okay. Then we can move on to committee reports. Would anybody like to start? If not, I'm happy to. Michael?
Sure. So the policy committee has a glamorous position, as P-TEC said, on the later on the agenda, but not otherwise. You should know that the policy committee also met earlier this week and is continuing our biweekly cadence, and we'll have more policies in the pipeline coming to you slated for our December meeting, including an equally glamorous policy on substitute teachers, as well as we're taking a longer time looking at a host of policies connected to the use of electronics in school, both students' devices that they bring, as well as existing tech, and how our policies that we've already approved are matching current practice.
Thank you. Are there any other committees that like to speak? Ms. Costin?
I want to just first touch on CMS. Last week, CMS celebrated its last field day because it's the last field day for a while on their current field, where construction will soon be beginning with groundbreaking just before everyone goes on break. And then I do want to say that bids were opened on the 19th, so Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday. And we'll have there's dozens of them. So there'll be some analysis, and we'll have more information, certainly before our next meeting. And I also want to say that the Distinguished Teacher Awards Committee is actively seeking submissions for distinguished teachers and administrators who have gone above and beyond for our students. And packets, I believe, went out in the family note so that people know what the format is for submitting those. So please go ahead and nominate the educators and administrators who have had meaningful impacts on students. And that's all.
Thank you. Anybody else? I have Sophie, is that your hand up?
Yes, that's my hand.
Okay,
Thanks.
Sophie?
The Riverside feasibility study is continuing to meet. We met last week, and Antonazzi Associates gave us their first summary of what they feel like the sort of the safety and security, building capacity issues, and needed instructional space upgrades. There's no design work done yet, so this was just really a chart looking at what kind of square footage is allocated to certain uses now and what the ideal square footages would be. I'll let you know when we get more information, but we're meeting again in 2 weeks. So there's a lot of information to digest, and if anyone on the board would like to see the report, I'm happy to share it with you.
I'd love to personally.
Okay.
I don't know if there are any other committees, otherwise I can give some of my own updates. I'll start with EMAC. EMAC met a week or so ago. I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about some of the questions that they've asked in regards to Hamilton Avenue's HVAC when we get to that item on the agenda. I know the board had asked some additional questions as well, so hopefully we'll get some answers on that. And so that was the the crux of a lot of the discussion there. SEAC also met this week. They were discussing the finishing up of some of the interviews and so forth for the audit. Well, the review of the audit on special education, as well as had a speaker who came and attended, and it was fantastic. I believe the recording is posted on the Board of Ed's website under SEAC. And the AP Psych Textbook Committee met. They had their final meeting today to discuss recommendations. And I believe those recommendations will be coming forward to the board in either later this month, I believe, or next month. So I don't have the exact date as to when those will be moving forward. And I think that is it on my committee updates. Are there any other committee updates? Okay, if not, happy to move on to action items. Hamilton Avenue HVAC eval report is the first item up. I'm not sure, we don't have a motion necessarily to approve on this, but I'm happy to, have a motion to accept the evaluation report in order to get it on the table so we can have a discussion. Is there a second?
So moved.
Who was that? Was Kathleen's hand up first? Okay, I'll say Kathleen seconded that. And then I'm handing this over to Ben Branyan to present this item.
Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. We're really close to having additional implementation. Unfortunately, we're not going to have more info from the last meeting we had. There's 2 outstanding items that we continue to chase down. One of them is with our tax advisor. What we recognize is the lack of records and the passage of time have not been very friendly with us as we try to recreate the original install price. So our consultants are continuing to chase that down. And also we had a really productive meeting with EMAC and AECOM. They had some additional comments on the report and they proposed an alternative system design. So AECOM is looking at that review and trying to price that out as well. So as much as we really wanted to have more information tonight to have a better conversation, we're just not there yet. And we're hopeful in the next couple of weeks to have everything wrapped up so we can have all the information to make a decision. But happy to answer any questions you may have, but that was just a very brief update.
Does anybody have any specific questions? The only question I had, Ben, is I know when we brought this item up for discussion at the last meeting, the board had a few questions as well. Are we going to be getting answers to that along with the answers that, answers to the questions that EMAC has put forward?
I believe the last update we gave the board in October 21 addressed all the outstanding board questions, but if we're missing any, certainly let us know and we can we'll regroup on those. But I believe we addressed all the questions we thought were out there on the October 21 update to the board.
I'll go back and look through and forward any that we may not have gotten a response to about. But does anybody else have any additional questions? Okay, if not, then I'd like to withdraw my motion to accept this report as there is no report.
Karen?
Yes.
So I actually did have a question. I guess it's just as far as timing goes, because I'm looking at the meeting agenda. And Ben, I don't know when, as far as information, when we think we're going to be getting something. So are we looking to, I guess, are we targeting December 5th for a conversation then about this then? Because we want to try to do this before budget vote. Is that what we're still thinking? Or are we taking this out of the budget cycle?
It'll likely be out of the budget cycle just so we can move forward. But I think December 5th would be overly optimistic. We'd love to. We're trying to shoot for that, but I don't think that'll be realistic based on some of the things we're chasing down. But if not, that'll be the business meeting in December as well. So it does not need to be at the December 5th meeting to be part of the budget.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, I think at the last meeting when we brought this up, when this was a topic of discussion, it was mentioned that we were looking to go for an interim appropriation for this, because if we put it into next year's budget, then we can't wait. We have to wait till July to get those funds, and hopefully we'll have the answers and be able to move forward prior to that. Am I correct?
Remember, right. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, I've withdrawn the motion, so we will table this till the next, when we get the updated information. And we are moving on to the Old Greenwich School Building Committee's interim appropriation. I guess I will make the motion to approve the request for the interim appropriation of $1,964,805 to bolster owner contingency. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thanks. Okay, perfect. And then I will turn this over to Ben and James if he's here.
I'm here.
Yeah, I have the easy job to turn it over to the chair of the building committee, James Waters, and him and his team will walk you through it.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for including us on your agenda tonight. Madam Chair, happy to do this whichever way you'd like. I know we submitted some materials, and we'd certainly be happy to walk through those step by step if it's helpful. We have our full team here with us tonight, and so can either I guess options for you guys to consider is either we can walk through the presentation, we can also answer detailed questions that people may have, or we can just talk about it without throwing it on the screen.
I will defer to both you and our committee member, Mike, to see what you guys feel would be best for presenting this to the board.
Mike, what are your thoughts?
So thank you. So I know I was able to have a conversation with I think just about everybody on this. Before us tonight is a request for an interim appropriation of 1.9 million for the Old Greenwich project, which basically is all about contingency. James, I think what makes the most sense is, especially since we've got everybody here, is to just very quickly give the executive summary as far as why we're asking for this and where the numbers are.
Very good.
Cool.
Yeah, happy to do that. And I'll just kind of maybe just for everybody's benefit, just update you on where we are in the whole process, because as I've said multiple times, we are moving with a purpose, and we continue to do that. So really quickly, we are right now, we are nearing the very end of the construction documents phase of this project. So the project is about 97+% designed. In fact, we're expecting our architect, Silver Petroselli, David Stein's on there to present us with the 100% construction documents at our meeting on December 10th. We are also going to want to discuss that with you, because there's an approval that we'll need to get of plans and specifications before we talk to the state. But what we're here with tonight is our construction documents estimate that was recently performed by Downs Construction. Took about two and a half months or so to really shake this estimate and get it to the point where the building committee was ready to approve it. We did consider it a week ago. The building committee approved it unanimously. Look, here's what it says. It says that this project is going to cost $47,050,805. That includes A&E funds, and it includes construction funds. We are leveraging a couple funding offsets, specifically some ADA funds that were appropriated for this project in fiscal 23-24. There's about $1,003,000 that was set aside in that year. In addition, there's a $500,000 of sewer funds that were also set aside that year. And then finally, there's a U.S. Department of Energy grant that the town has decided it would like to use for this project, which is going to help defray some of the cost of LED lighting, which is being upgraded in the building. When you take the net effect of all of that, it's going to require an interim appropriation of $1,964,805. As Mike said, this is solely about owner contingency. This board, you will remember back in March, this board approved our design development estimate, which was as part of the budget season. That amount was not fully funded in the fiscal 24-25 budget. I've had extensive communications with BET members and with the RTM. I think most of you know that I'm also on the RTM. I'm the chairman of the Budget Overview Committee. And this was well briefed at the RTM that this project and the BET level, that this project would require an interim appropriation to bolster the owner contingency. The reality is, of the construction funds that have been approved, the $45,086,000, that only includes an owner contingency of $830,000, 2%, for a renovation of a 120-year-old school. That's not sufficient. And we're at a point where we're about to start talking to the state about our grant application. And our team believes that our application will likely be held up until the town demonstrates that it has an appropriate owner contingency for the project. So our request would get us to an owner contingency of roughly $2.9 million. That equates to about 7% of total project costs. The other things I would just mention is that we are on track to start construction next summer. This is a project that I think most of you are very well aware of. It's been on the town's docket for over 6 years now. What's remaining to complete is just the construction documents, the state process, and then going out to bid. Couple other things I would just highlight for all of you. This board has approved education specifications. You've revised them twice. Our design does meet your ed specs. This project does have the approval from the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights. We are bringing it into compliance with the 2010 ADA standards. We do have final zoning approvals. Our final site plan was approved this summer. The state application is in. The design is done. Long lead items have been put out to bid. These are things like generator and switchgear. We have continued to brief the community extensively. To this point, we've had 13 forums, including 3 on one day last month. I think the feedback we've gotten some really great questions, but the feedback that we've heard is people feel like this is ready to go. But the owner contingency is the remaining obstacle that we cannot deal with without an interim appropriation. So with that, I will stop, and I am certainly happy for more questions, and I'm sure my executive summary was a little longer than Mike wanted.
Mike, do you have anything to add?
No, not the only thing I would add, which is what PTAC mentioned earlier, but it's worth reiterating, is that because of the hard work of James and the whole team in value engineering and accounting, the state reimbursement has increased since this was last before the board. We're now over above 17%. So while we're looking at an interim measure to increase the funding amount, the overall cost to the town at the end of the day is going to be about $400,000 less than what we approved last time.
Yeah, one thing I would just tack onto that is that, look, in all these design phases, as the drawings get mature, right? You start to have, as an example, and I'm sure my construction team will cringe because they would say this better. You start to have the exact lineal feet of piping, right? You start to have the exact number of sprinkler heads. You continue to have the latest market prices, which in some cases have gone up, like in the cases of HVAC. And the building committee has found a way to pay for every single one of those items. In the estimate that we are bringing here today, the one item we cannot do without chopping the ed specs is fund our owner contingency.
I
Okay.
think we're ready for questions.
Does anybody, does anybody have questions? Sophie?
I just have a question about, procurement and like how much can you procure in advance? And I mean, we have some economic uncertainty in our country right now, and certain goods could end up costing a lot more down the line. There's nothing much that we can do about it, but how much of the project can you procure in advance?
Well, I'm gonna turn that to Jeff Anderson and Anthony DeMoro in a second. The one thing I would say is our team has been alerting us for the past 6 months, if not longer, that there are certain items that we absolutely must bid early because they will take 14+ months to arrive. The good news is those items are out to bid. Generator, switchgear, and some electrical panels that go with it. But I will let the real experts speak on this. So Jeff or Anthony, whoever is the right person on that one.
Well, I think Jeff Anderson here with Downs Construction. Thank you. I think James summarized it perfectly, that we are out to bid on what would be considered long lead critical path items for the schedule, such as the switchgear, the generator. That is going to put us in a position to, assuming all of the approvals that have to occur over the next couple of weeks, in a position to be able to complete the new addition for the school for the summer of 26. That's our goal. In terms of the balance of the project, as also mentioned earlier in this conversation, we're about 97% complete with the drawings. We are in a position here shortly to meet with the state of Connecticut to be able to go through that process of receiving approval. There's obviously some things associated with funding that we have to get through, as also mentioned by James. But at this point, we have to now follow a pretty regimental process to be able to get to bid the balance of the project.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
I don't know if anybody else has a question. I guess the one question I would ask, if anybody else has one, is that enough of a contingency? I know it's lower than sometimes what traditionally asked for. I don't know if the state generally requires 8 to 10%, but I just I wasn't really sure if you feel that's enough of a contingency.
Yeah, look, that's the real question, right? In my mind, it's something I have, and the building committee has tried to challenge our team on quite a lot. Right? One thing we absolutely know is 2% is not enough. Some other things we know. The building committee has spent about $350,000 of Greenwich taxpayer dollars to date, doing diligence on this building. I won't name names, but I had a conversation today with a separate building committee, not in our town, that is doing a somewhat similar project, and they have done none of this diligence, and are near the same phase as we are. So we have drilled into ceilings, we've drilled into walls, we've drilled into the soil, we've drilled down to the foundation. We've tried to examine what the team believes are the most risky areas that could be very expensive future change orders. Do we know everything today? No. That is not possible without having a working school in place. But we've tried to get as much as we can, and we have factored that into our budget. We have included pretty big numbers in our budget for where do we dispose of soil, for example, that may have not necessarily, polluted soil like at GHS, but does have some arsenic, right? So you got to take it to a special facility. Where, how do we handle abatement? And do we have enough costs associated with abatement? So we've looked into all of these areas that I think our professionals have seen and seen become problematic. So really what I'm hearing from our team is, and they're welcome to speak for themselves as well here, is that, look, a project like this is a guaranteed maximum price contract. We should all keep that in mind. Downs, after they take this project out to bid, will prepare a guaranteed maximum price and bring that back to us. What they typically see in this is the bare minimum that of an owner's contingency that a project like this would have would be about 5%. That would probably be more like you've really diligenced the entire building or it's a new construction project. You may see on a higher side 10%, right? When you haven't done much diligence and there's a ton of unknowns. Keep in mind that, when I'm saying 7% owner contingency, what I am not saying, but is a construction manager's contingency. That is baked into that estimate. It is, I believe right now that number is about $1.2 million. There also are a couple other items that we are not that are not owner contingency, but are baked into the estimate. Specifically, there's some escalation baked into it, about $1 million. There's D&E, design and estimating / bid contingency that's also baked into it, also about $1 million. Now, Downs believes those will become hard costs, so we're not calling those contingency. But when you factor in the construction manager's contingency, our contingency that we're asking for, we believe that is the amount we're trying. Look, we're trying to do this delicate balance here, right? I mean, if we wanted to ask for a 10% owner contingency, that amount for you all would be $4.1 million. So it would require about, call it 1.3 more than we're asking for right now. So your interim would go closer to 3.2. So I'm not going to tell you here that I have it all figured out, that we know exactly what the issue is. We are, based on what we know, the work we've done, the work we have not done, we think 7% feels like it's the right amount for the owner contingency. Guys, what did I miss, or what would you say better than that? Lawrence or Jeff?
Jeff Anderson again, James. I think you pretty much covered it. Without getting too far into the weeds, as we get to the point of bidding this project, our effort as construction manager really adds another level of due diligence to ensure that when those bids come in, we're going through detailed scope reviews. We're ensuring everything is captured to the extent that it can be. If things are identified during those scope reviews with those contractors, we're potentially suggesting additional allowances to mitigate that risk a little bit further. So again, our goal is always, when we're submitting a guaranteed maximum price, that it's as comprehensive as possible with the information that we have. And the end goal is to be able to turn back as much of our construction contingency to Greenwich as we possibly can. So I think if we couple our baked in contingency plus the owner's contingency, we should be in a good place.
Yeah, this is Lawrence with Morgani, the owner's rep. To complement what James said, I mean, the team has done extensive investigation of the existing conditions. There's been a lot of work done in the summer of 23, the winter of 23, and the summer of 24 to do the due diligence that James mentioned. So the 7% seems comfortable at that level.
Thank you for that very detailed response. I appreciate it. Does anybody else have any other questions? Anyone? Going once? Going twice? We can move to a vote then. In you know, again, I know we had put the item on the table already, to approve the request for the interim appropriation of $1,964,805 to bolster the owner contingency. Mike had seconded that. So, without further ado, I'm happy to call for a vote. Mike,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Sophie,
Yes.
Cody,
Yes.
Wendy,
This project started at 19 million, went to 45 million, and is
We
now
had
at
an
like
opportunity to ask
49
questions
million.
already.
So I'm
We're
gonna
voting.
be abstaining from
I'm
this
sorry.
one because we haven't even put in shovels haven't even been put into the ground yet, and you're asking for more money. So, if you could come up with like, well, anyway, I'm abstaining.
Okay.
Thanks.
And I guess I'm the last to vote, so I will approve it. So that is 701. So thank you so much, James, and for the entire Old Greenwich Building Committee, including our incredible rep there, Mike. You guys have done a great job. It's always nice to also hear that we're even getting, you know, available more money back from the state. So thank you for all the due diligence you guys are doing as a team. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your support. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you,
Okay.
gentlemen.
So the next item on our agenda are budget transfers. I guess I will make the motion to authorize transfers for the period ending October 31st, 2024. Is there a second? Kathleen Stowe. Okay. I will turn this over to Mr. Brandon, or if anybody has questions.
Yeah, happy to answer any questions you may have, but we're not changing the use. It's simply an accounting maneuver when the BET move money from capital to operating. In order for us to use it, we're just changing it from one MOC to another. The use remains the same.
Does anybody have questions? No? Okay, then I'm happy to call for a vote. Michael? Joseph?
Yes.
Laura Costin?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
Cody?
Yes.
Sophie?
Yes.
And I am also a yes, so that passes 8-0. Thank you. But you don't get to go anywhere because now we're on to discussion items, which is the monthly financial report. So you're back on deck for the next two items, I believe. You know, if you want to present anything or if anybody has any specific questions for the monthly financial report.
Yeah, the end of month, October 31st, relatively uneventful financial report, which I like. So nothing major to report at this time. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Nope. Okay. Going once, going twice. Questions? Nope. Okay. Then we can move on to the budget transfers. Also for you, Mr. Brandon.
Happy to answer any questions you have. You just see although it's a relatively large amount, we're just reallocating from one line item to several other ones just from to really finesse where the expenses are going. But happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions? No? Okay. Then we can move on to the Board of Education meeting calendar, the first read for the 2025-2026 meeting calendar. Dr. Jones?
So the meeting calendar basically mirrors what we've done this year, stays with the retreats in the same time frame, budget meetings in the same time frame. It seems that the retreats have been working well, where we have more time to discuss, for instance, the student achievement retreat that we have done the last 2 years. From a staff perspective, we really like it and we get great feedback from all of you. So just if you have any suggestions or anything you want us to go look at, to look at different dates, just let me know and we will do that before our next meeting.
No, I just noticed a typo. The first board retreat is listed as Thursday, September 5th, but next year it's September 4th.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I had only one question, but this is not necessarily for you. It's for the other members of the board. One of the board goals that we have is talking about professional development. And we don't have to pick a date now, but and maybe prior to voting on this item at the next meeting, we could consider looking through there and seeing a date that might work. And we can discuss topics to have professional development for us as a board. So I just wanted to put that out there. Does anybody else have questions, comments? Yep, Mike?
Laura, it's probably for Laura. Laura does this better than than we do. We can always change it later, but do we anticipate still being able to use the Central Middle School auditorium in May of 2026?
Yes. Yeah, because we're not closing the building at all while we're under construction for the new building.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were asking, would the new one be ready?
I wish.
We're staying on track.
Does anybody else have questions?
I just had the realization that as someone who's not going to run again, I don't think this will be relevant to me.
The first few meetings certainly will.
Yeah, only those. But it's
Cody,
kind of
that
this-
never stopped you from opining before.
yeah.
Um,
One of those existential reflection moments.
hmm.
Cody, if you're not running again, you should just tell people to add more meetings, just to mess with people. So they should have a meeting every week.
It's a great idea. And I think we should actually start the meetings later. 11 p.m.
Exactly. Good for
11
the
p.m. 11 p.m. Pacific time, I think. Definitely be the key. Okay, so nobody else has any comments, then we can move on. Anyone? Next up to the most fun topic of the night, policy 9311. I'll hand this over to our policy committee chair, Dr. Mercanti Anthony.
Thank you. So before you tonight as a first read is policy 9311, which is actually a fairly innocuous policy. I'll let Dr. Jones talk a little more about it. But generally, the basic executive summary is the board will recall last spring, Dr. Budd came before us to discuss the our hiring plan that the state asked us to develop by law. Policy 9311 is another policy that the state, my dog is excited to be here. Did I tell you how much I love Zoom meetings? It's okay, dog. This policy was also something that the state requires us to do, and the policy basically says that we have to develop a plan that we did already do. So basically, for tonight, we're looking at a policy that requires us to submit a plan that we have already submitted. Why bother with this level of bureaucracy? Besides it being the law, it's also there is the slight possibility that it opens us up to some level of exposure in our hiring practices. Someone, a complainant, could say that we have not, we're not abiding by state law as far as adopting policies that we're supposed to. So all this tightens that up in a fairly straightforward way. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Jones. And if there's anything I missed, Tony, I don't know.
No, you did a good job. We had to have the plan to the board. You approved the plan. It went to the state. It's since been approved. So this is really just kind of in retro supporting the work that we were required to do for the state.
I don't know if I heard Mike say it, but it's basically making sure that our policies match what we are doing in reality.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, what we already did.
Yes, exactly.
Any questions?
So the first two paragraphs I'm okay with. I mean, I think we all want diversity in our schools and hiring. However, I think those two paragraphs have to do with state law. So I'm okay with those two paragraphs. It's paragraphs 3 and 4 that seem to be more having to do with regulation. And I think that we shouldn't be micromanaging like that. I think we should leave it up to Dr. Jones. Did you actually come up with these? Because it looks like these are all things that are coming from the talent office homepage of the CSDE, the state's website.
When it's policy, it actually goes to the policy committee for them to approve. And it starts usually, and with this one, to be honest, that we started looking at this last spring, or I did. So I honestly can't remember. It's probably based out of CABE. And Karen, you may remember from the end of last year, but that's usually where we start, is the CABE recommended policy.
Okay, well, I would just recommend, because I'm sure not everyone maybe had a chance with everything that's been going on this week, to just look at the talent office homepage for the state's website and just see if that's something that you like and want in our schools.
Just to note, that anything in this policy is not written in red at the moment is our current policy. The only thing that we have done is revise it and add the redlined sections to ensure that it's appropriately adjusted.
Okay. Well, I want to strike the paragraphs 3 and 4.
Is this a first read, or are we?
This is a first read.
This is a first read.
So Mike, I guess I was going to suggest maybe put it back on the agenda to look at for the policy committee. Only in the fact that I'm not sure, obviously we would need to go back and look and see what is required by state to be there. Otherwise, I think then we can have an additional discussion.
But Karen, to Ms. Grady, this is not an existing policy.
Oh, sorry, this one isn't particularly.
Yeah, this is to make sure this is not an existing policy. So the red line is changes we made, but this is a new policy for the board.
I don't know if there's any other comments, but we can move on to the next item. But as policy chair, I assume we'll be putting this back on our agenda.
Indeed.
Okie dokie. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, we can move on to the Western Middle School soil update. Always my favorite subject of the night.
We're getting closer and closer.
So close I can smell the fields.
Yeah, it's going to be when we come back from Thanksgiving. I just had an update this morning. So we're looking at that first or second week in December, cutting the ribbon, getting it open, and that'll be perfect timing, especially as Mike referenced earlier, Central Field is closing. So now we're going to have a beautiful field for Western to pay back, Central in all the usage we had traveling the other way. So hopefully the first week of December or second week, hope to have that date by Monday.
I can't wait. So that will be something wonderful, not just for the Western Middle School community, but the community overall, because it's been closed for so many years, and it's really limited a lot of opportunities in that area for the community as well. So I can't wait to see that opened. Other than that, we can move on to our agenda planned discussion. Does anybody have anything? Or obviously we will need to add items back on that we will get a date for instance, the HVAC.
I might also mention Riverside feasibility. I spoke with the architect yesterday, the team, and we expect to have the ed spec probably in January. We want to make sure that when we bring it to you, we also have the cost estimate, so that you can have a really good discussion in case the cost is higher than you anticipated and you want to adjust the ed spec. But as soon as our cost estimator has said January, so we hope to have that back in front of you. And as a reminder, we don't usually do a cost estimate during feasibility. This is new, and we're hoping it's going to be very, very helpful. And we have so many building committees that are active, right now, or different projects. And this has been a suggestion from those people that are on those committees that it would be very helpful to have it sooner than later.
Sounds good. Does anybody else have anything that needs to be added on there? Otherwise, I'm happy to be open for any other adjournment situation. Mike?
So I have one possible topic, which is a little bit out of left field, although people have heard me talk about it but before. I do feel like people can disagree with me, but I do feel like the time is right to have a more robust conversation about our field usage. I know it was news to some of us on the board as far as what was and was not allowed at the high school and things like that. And I think it would be appropriate to have a report from athletics and things as far as what we're allowed and not allowed to do on the fields.
Sure. Well, that may also require additional people to come. I know Kathleen was on the field study with the town looking at that. So we can reach out to find out who would be best to come address that. And we can add that to an agenda.
I think it's a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Bring that back.
And is this like the Cardinal Stadium restroom issue or just field usage in general?
No, I think field usage in general.
Okay.
Yep, good idea.
So we'll reach out to figure out who we should have come present and then have that as a discussion, if that works. Just wanted to remind people that budget is coming fast and furious. And if you did look at our agenda next, Thursday, December 5th, we are going to be having a public hearing on our proposed operating budget. So I also hope to remind all of our members of the Board of Education, if we have additional questions, to please share those with Dr. Jones so that we can get some answers prior to voting on the operating and food services budget on Thursday, December 12th. And I invite all members of the public to come and share their thoughts regarding our budget on Thursday, December 5th. And I will also send around information regarding committees and other things to the board. So with that, is there anything else? Otherwise, is there a motion to be made?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Okay, Laura, I will take the votes. Wendy?
Yeah. Oh, I'm secretary again?
No. I was asking for your vote to
Oh,
adjourn.
yes. Yeah. Yes.
Cody?
Yes.
Sophie?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Laura?
I just want to stay a little longer. Just kidding. Yes.
Okay, Jen?
Yes.
Puppy? I saw Puppy and me. I will vote to adjourn, and I also vote to pet that puppy, but I'm not there. So anyway, also wanted to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. We all have so many things to be thankful for, and hope that everybody takes the time to connect with our families and think about all the wonderful things that we have going on here. So thank you, and have
Thank
a
you.
great
Good
holiday.
night, everybody.
Good night.